Alright, let's dig into this collection of Trump words recently in PA. And I've got to say, they're absolute gold, though probably not in the way Trump imagined. This is going to be fun because, let's be real, when Trump starts talking, it's like tuning into a stand-up routine where the jokes keep rolling, even when they're not meant to be funny.
It a little bit by this whack job. You know, he said, we're weird. That JD and I are weird. I think we're extremely normal people. With like you, exactly like, he's weird.
That was Donald Trump speaking in York, Pennsylvania. This was supposed to be a speech about the economy, but it was really just...
So, Trump kicks things off by addressing the claim that he and jdvance are weird. His response? We're not weird. We're extremely normal. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone feels the need to declare themselves extremely normal, it usually means the opposite. It's like the kid in school who insists they're super cool while everyone else just nods politely. But let's unpack this a bit. Trump's version of normal is unlike anything most of us would recognize. In Trump's world, normal is spouting conspiracy theories, bragging about self-proclaimed billions lost while in office, and making bizarre statements that leave everyone scratching their heads. So, if that's what he considers normal, then I think I'll happily stick with being weird. Thank you very much. Next up, Trump claims that he could have made billions of dollars while in office if he had played the game like Joe Biden supposedly did. But don't worry, he took the job seriously and chose not to. Instead, he lost billions. Billions, I tell you.
And dined them at Joe's houses. They saw his boats. They saw the way he lived. They saw his beautiful mansions. I would have made billions of dollars in this job if I wanted to play that game the way they played it, but instead I took the job very seriously and very importantly. And you can see from the recently announced financial reports, I don't need the money. And I'm proud to announce that doing and being president, I lost.
Now, let's break this down. Trump wants us to believe he's some sort of martyr for the presidency, choosing public service over personal gain. But the reality? He profited off his presidency in ways that would make even the shadiest businessman blush. Remember the Trump Hotel down the street from the White House? That place was practically a revolving door for foreign dignitaries and lobbyists, all paying top dollar to stays in Trump's good graces. Literally. So, the whole "I could have made billions, but I didn't" narrative is like a magician's trick. Look over here at the shiny object, while the real action is happening where you're not looking. It's classic Trump. Say something so outrageous that people start questioning their own sanity. Did he really lose billions? Or did he just add a few more zeros to his already inflated ego? Then we get to Trump's next act, claiming there was a coup against Joe Biden, supposedly orchestrated by Marxists, including the ever-present villain in Trump's world, Kamala Harris. Yes, folks, Trump is still on about coups and Marxists as if we're all living in some Cold War-era spy novel.
Father is a Marxist professor, and I believe he taught her well. You know, he's a Marxist professor. Can you imagine? Does anyone know that? I wonder if they knew that when they did an overthrow or a coup on Joe Biden. I wonder if they knew where she comes from, where she came from, what her...
But here's the kicker. There's no coup, no Marxist takeover, no secret plot to overthrow Biden. This is just Trump throwing around buzzwords to keep his base riled up. It's like he has a Rolodex of scary words, Marxist, coup, socialist, and he just spins it until one pops out. And every time, it's the same tired shtick. The sad part? There are people out there who still buy this nonsense, who hear Trump talk about Marxist coups and think, yep, sounds legit. But for the rest of us, it's just exhausting. How many times can you cry wolf before people stop listening? Apparently, in Trump's case, quite a few. Now let's move on to Trump's claim that he was totally exonerated in the classified documents case. You know, the one where he was caught red-handed with documents he wasn't supposed to have? Yeah, that one. According to Trump, the judge he appointed dismissed the case, and now he's walking around like some sort of legal superhero who just defeated the evil forces of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
And remember, comrade, Kamala, she knew everything, and the senators knew what was going on. And by the way, I had my own classified documents case, and I was totally exonerated. Totally. There was a case brought by Joe Biden and Kamala. She was involved. They did that in order to interfere with the election, and it still goes on, different cases, but that was, according to most, the big one. And we were totally exonerated. The case was won a month ago. Very little coverage of the case being won.
But here's the thing. None of that happened. The case is very much still alive, and Trump is far from exonerated. But in Trump's world, facts are just pesky little details that get in the way of a good story. So why not just rewrite the ending to suit your needs? It's like he's living in his own version of Choose Your Own Adventure, where he's always the hero, and everyone else is out to get him. It's both hilarious and terrifying to watch him twist reality like this. On the one hand, you can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. On the other hand, you realize there are millions of people who believe every word he says. And that's where the humor stops, and the real concern begins. And then there's the moment where Trump, in a stunning display of humility, refers to himself in the third person. Everyone was better off when you had a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump at the helm. Who does that? Seriously, who talks about themselves like that?
Everyone was better off when you had a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump at the helm. Does anybody know him? Whoever he may be.
It's like he's trying to create some sort of mythical figure out of himself. A character so grand, so noble, that even can't just call himself me. No. He's the gentleman named President Donald J. Trump. It's peak narcissism, folks. We've reached the summit. This is the kind of thing you expect to hear from a self-proclaimed king in a fantasy novel, not a former president of the United States. But hey, if Trump wants to write his own mythology, who am I to stop him? Just don't ask the rest of us to buy into it. And let's not forget the moment when even Fox News, Trump's beloved network, couldn't take it anymore. They literally cut away from his speech because, let's face it, the rambling was just too much. When Fox News, the network that has bent over backward to support Trump, decides to pull the plug, you know things have gone off the rails.
Next tips. All of a sudden she comes out and she says the same thing, exactly the same words that I used.
Okay, former President Trump in York, Pennsylvania, keeping an eye on that speech on the economy. Brit Hume, Karl Rove, and Marie Harf are all here. Karl, let me start with you. This is obviously an effort, which, you know, the other party always does at sort of counter-programming during the week of the opposite party's convention. We're going to hear from the former president every day this week. He's in York talking about the economy. What do you think about the message?
The host on Fox practically admitted that Trump's message is all over the place. Much more disciplined message needed, he said. That's the understatement of the year. Trump's speeches are like a buffet, where nothing matches. Spaghetti next to chocolate cake, next to a side of scrambled eggs. It's just a mess. But here's the reality. Fox knows they have to walk a fine line. They can't completely abandon Trump because a big chunk of their audience is still hooked on the Trump train. But they also can't air every word he says because, well, it's often incomprehensible. It's a tough spot to be in, and watching them navigate it is almost as entertaining as Trump's speeches themselves. And finally, we have Trump's nostalgic trip down memory lane, where he just starts listing years. 2019, 2018, 2017, as if saying the numbers alone will convince you that everything was amazing back then. It's like he's trying to summon the good old days by sheer force of will. Remember 2019? That was a great year. How about 2018? Even better. And 2017? Don't get me started.
We were doing that against China. You know, there was a long time expression that China will take over the world's largest economy. It'll take it over in 2019. Well, in 2019, we were doing so well, 2018, 2017, that China never even came close. We were lapping them. They never.
But what's his point? That things were good because he says they were? That's not an argument. That's just wishful thinking. Trump is trying to sell us on a time warp where everything was perfect simply because he was in charge. But let's not forget that 2019 was the year before the pandemic, which revealed just how unprepared and chaotic his administration really was. The rosy picture he's painting is just another illusion in the Trump gallery of alternate realities. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, for starters, Trump's speeches and interviews are a strange blend of entertainment and head-scratching absurdity. It's like watching a stand-up routine where the comedian doesn't realize they're the punchline, and the jokes aren't nearly as funny as they are alarming. In Trump's world, facts are more like suggestions. Self-promotion is the only consistent theme, and reality shifts depending on his mood. It's a bizarre, confusing place, and even his most loyal supporters are starting to tire of the act. Sure, it can be entertaining to watch Trump spin his tales, but when you look closer, there's little substance behind the spectacle. As we move forward, it's crucial to stay focused on what really matters, because while Trump is busy crafting his own version of history, the rest of us have to be building a better future. And that's what truly deserves our attention.